Bar for bar album reviews. Westside Gunn, Hitler Wears Hermes 8, Sincerely Adolf, Side A. Hitler Wears Hermes 8 is the latest in the Hitler Wears Hermes mixtape series from Griselda's Westside Gunn. Originally, we expected to get this mixtape around October of 2020, especially with him saying that he'd be retiring at the end of that year. As time went on, the project got pushed back a little and Westside Gunn changed his stance on retirement. The next that we'd hear of this tape was on the Easter Gunnsday track with Mach-Hommy, which made it seem that the project would be dropping right before Pray for Haiti, which dropped in May. It's now August, and we finally have it, at least the first half, and I feel like it was definitely worth the wait. With this project, the thing that I feel Westside Gunn really focused on was keeping everything clean and focused. Everything from the production choices to the beat switches to the song transitions was very smooth and intentional. There were even times on the album where I didn't even realize that we've transitioned to another song, like when it goes from Claire's Back to Spoons, even though we got the Conductor Williams producer tag. This smoothness also allowed this album to feel much shorter than the 40-minute runtime that we got, which is impressive to say the least. Another thing to point out is that there are features on pretty much every track. This isn't a bad thing or anything really too out of the ordinary, since Westside Gunn tends to feature quite a few artists normally, I feel. But what is interesting is that many of the features on here have multiple features throughout the project. For example, Stove Got Cooks is on 5 tracks. In fact, the only artists that get a single feature are A.A. Rashid, Mach-Hommy, Jadakiss, Lil Wayne, and Benny the Butcher. Hitler Wears Hermes 8 starts off with Murders in Maxfields, which is just an instrumental intro, but it makes it sound like this project would be a bit more spooky or ominous with that sort of intro. That's not quite what we get, but it does go well into the, secondary intro from A.A. Rashid on Blessed Times, which touches on how everyone's trying to copy each other. This, I feel, is kind of meant to be applied to how in the past, Griselda members have acknowledged that people are going more their route rather than finding their own way of doing things. The album proper starts with Mariota, which brings us the first of many features from Stove Got Cooks. This track, I feel, does a better job to set the tone of the album than the other 2 intros, simply because it goes along more with the sound that we'd be primarily hearing through a lot of the other tracks. Speaking of Stove Got Cooks, though, although I've listened to him a bit in the past, I've never realized how good he is on hooks. With Vogue Cover, we get him singing just a little bit on the intro, which I thought was cool, but then he really starts to open up on tracks like Right Now with Jadakiss and Westheimer, where he's basically just doing the entire chorus himself. The way he performs here really does sound familiar, but I can't pinpoint exactly who he sounds like. Another standout feature that's present on multiple songs is Rome Streets. His contributions on both Draymond and Perry Perry are solid, but honestly that's to be expected given all the work that he's been putting in this year with 3 really dope projects. Things change up from the more luxurious sound to something a bit more grimy and reminiscent of typical Griselda production with Bash Money featuring Lil Wayne. I really like his feature here as well, and he sounds great following Westside Gunn's verse. I've seen a lot of people now asking for Wayne to hop on more of these sorts of beats, and I'm totally here for it if he does. It'd be wild that if in his second half of his career he just changed up his style entirely and went that route. I briefly spoke about Claire's Back earlier on, but this is another solid track that's essentially a crew cut from the Griselda boys. It is also the longest track on the album at a runtime of nearly 7 minutes, which is mostly due to an interlude from Westside Gunn partway through the track, which then brings us a beat switch and verses from Conway and Benny. I think it's actually the beat switch that makes me think that this is one long track with Spoons attached to it. Spoons is also another really dope song, which has Westside Gunn and Conway trading bars for a solid 2 minutes, and it really reminds me of one of those songs off of Pray for Haiti where he does the same thing with Mach-Hommy. Overall, this project was pretty good. There's not too much said that's out of the ordinary or unexpected from Westside Gunn or any of his features, but what is new, I guess, is the refinement in sound. Every track flows really well into the next, and every feature fits perfectly. Westside Gunn has been curating more and more projects recently, and the improvement really shows here. Looking at all the features, I was a little confused at first as to why people like Stove Got Cooks and Rome Streets and Boldy James were featured so frequently. However, given the recent news, like literally the day of this recording, that they're all signed to Griselda Records. I mean, Boldy we already knew, but Rome Streets and Stove Got Cooks being signed, that makes a lot of sense. Like, Westside Gunn is trying to focus on the next chapter of Griselda, given that Benny's working with BSF and Conway's working on Drumworks. So he's like, okay, well, I gotta continue to build my roster and put them at the forefront. It's like he's using this tape to get listeners who are fans of Griselda interested in these new guys. I mean, to be fair, I feel like Rome Streets and Stove Got Cooks had a pretty solid following to begin with, but this is just going to elevate them way more. With that in mind, it's entirely possible that side B of Hitler Wears Hermes 8 will feature some of the other artists that he's recently signed as well, like YN Billy and Jay Worthy. My favorite tracks on this project, or this side of Hitler Wears Hermes, is Draymond, Right Now, Westheimer, Bash Money, and Spoons. I'm excited to see what Westside Gunn has got in store for us next time with the second half of this project. Given how consistent and solid this one was, my expectations are way higher. If he does go the route of putting his other artists on, I'm sure it'll be done in a way very similar to this part, where they fit in perfectly and it's almost as if the songs are made for them. That's all I got for this review though. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this project and what your favorite tracks are. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.